everyone. Welcome to SceneDaily.com. I'm Steve Wade, along with my colleagues, Ree White and Bob Pockris. Oh, very good.
Okay.
We had 3 NASCAR races this weekend. Colin Braun won the Camping World Truck Series race at Michigan. That's the 50th win in that series for Jack Roush. That Nationwide Series race was at Kentucky, where Joey Logano was the winner, although Kyle Busch led the most laps. And of course, Mark Martin was the winner of the LifeLock 400 at Michigan Sprint Cup Series race. All right, Bob, you were at Kentucky. What were the happenings going on there?
Of course, when you go to Kentucky, the big question is, when will Kentucky get a Sprint Cup date? Right. And Bruton Smith, who owns that speedway, said it's probably not going to happen in 2010. He's got to start looking towards 2011. So if anybody knows Bruton Smith, he's usually not a pessimistic kind of guy, right. But he's pretty pessimistic in this case. He'd need a lot of help from NASCAR. NASCAR's probably wouldn't even consider a request for realignment until August at the earliest, and that's probably going to be later than what they can handle. So that was off the track. On the track, it was Kyle Busch leading seventh consecutive race that he's led the most laps. But Joey Logano won. Joey Logano might have led the most laps if he wasn't the victim of one of 27 speeding penalties during that race. So he was sent to the back. He found his way up to the front.
And then Logano and Kyle Busch boarded their planes, as you know, and headed to Michigan. The Michigan race had a really exciting, dramatic ending, I think. I know a lot of people are critical of fuel mileage races, but when you have Jimmy Johnson leading and he runs out of fuel, and Greg Biffle leading and he runs out of fuel, and then Mark Martin moves to the front and he doesn't even have enough fuel to do a victory lap or anything like that, says he runs out at the line and wins the race. That was pretty exciting going into those last 2 laps, wondering who was going to win and what was going to happen. What do you think of fuel mileage races?
I think they're inevitable in each and every given season, and that's especially so at Michigan. Michigan is a wide track, a lot of room to race. You can actually see them go 4 abreast there. Now, couple that up with the fact that it offers the drivers a better chance to get out of each other's way. You don't see a whole lot of contact there. Consequently, the pit road is never clogged during a caution. In other words, there were only 3 at Michigan. That means that those guys had really, 3 chances under caution to make a pit stop. That extends the green flag, that extends the opportunity for green flag pit stops. And, if you're out there on the track speeding around all the time and not able to get gas, it's going to come down to who the guy is that can pull it off.
Well, it was exciting, even if Biffle and Johnson didn't run out of gas, it would have been exciting because you had Biffle and Johnson fighting for the win. If Biffle had been saving gas and Johnson decided to try to save gas too, and they just went across the finish line, Biffle then Johnson, it wouldn't have been as dramatic. I'm hoping that, while fuel mileage races can be inevitable, I don't really love them all that much. So I'm hoping that the double file restarts, when you have late cautions, guys who might be on the edge will think like, well, we're gonna have to race because it's not gonna be single file restart. We're gonna have to really gun it to keep our position, and we're gonna need more fuel. So I'm hoping that there'll be less and less fuel mileage races in the future.
I think a lot of fans would agree with. How about you?
I think so too. I know that fuel mileage races are known as, and even some of the drivers talked about this afterwards, people were like, oh, it's going to be so boring, it's a fuel mileage race. But I think Bob's right. I think the double file restarts are going to change the nature of that type of racing. And I think the fact that, Biffle was trying to save and he knew he had to save, but he just couldn't resist. Johnson passed him and he just couldn't let him go. The racer inning took over. And I think that type of racing under a fuel mileage condition is what made this exciting and more dramatic than the normal quote-unquote fuel mileage race.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even Mark pointed out that he was holding back because the goal of the Hendrick team up at Michigan was, of course, the victory if they could get it, but he was in a position where he knew he couldn't get it. And they wanted to move up in points. And as a result of finishing on fumes and getting the victory, he went from 13th to 8th. Mission accomplished.
But the one good thing about fuel mileage races is that if you're a fan of any type of driver, you're watching the end of the race to see if he runs out of gas, whether he finishes 10th or 30th.
Right.
So it kind of keeps your interest. Maybe if your driver was 25th, you may say, well, I'm not going to watch, but all of a sudden, the driver who's 25th becomes 10th.
Yeah, exactly. But I can tell you this, fuel mileage races reduce the lifespan of the crew chief, no doubt about it. So on that note, that's all the time we have right now. I'm Steve Wade, along with Bob Pockris and Ree White. Thanks for being here today with us on SceneDaily.com.